I didn't get to where I got today by sitting there and hoping that it would all sort itself out. I got there because I let go of some of the guilt about my spending, certainly let go about the guilt about my past. We are in the situations that we're in because we've done the best that we can with the resources that we had available to us at the time. And that's what we do. Inspire yourself. Make you the focus of where you want to get to. Get your finances sorted out and make it a set and forget thing. Think about where your 80-year-old self wants to be and start listening. I'm Phoebe Blamey and I am going to take you on a happy money journey. This amazing adventure will change the way that you look at your money. I'm the best-selling author of The Happy Money Journey and I've been in financial services for over 27 years. I know there's a whole lot of anxiety and stress around money. But if you really want to change the way that you look and deal with your money, then this is the podcast for you. Listen in and let's start your journey. Hello and welcome back. Welcome to season 3. We're season 3 of our happy money journey. So if you're a woman or a man over 40 and trying to get your financial shit together, this is your podcast. We dig into the things that are mattering to us as we get older. What we're doing with our money, what we're doing with our life. And this season, I've changed the format quite a lot. Instead of hearing from me for 20 minutes, we're going to do a lot more interviews. So we've started that process already. We've got some great stuff in the can for you. And I'm really looking forward to really getting into it and bringing you a whole new happy money journey. So there'll still be a few solos. I've got a whole lot of experts that really hit the heart of what's important to us. So like, coping with divorce or getting our fitness back on track or finding our style, planning our future, taking care of our money, of course, but creating adventures, creating businesses and learning and growing and just all that sort of stuff. So I hope you're going to be tuning in. Hit like and subscribe now. And if you really like it, can you give us a review, please? Anyway, I think this season is going to be super fun. But I want to start this season with just you and me and a little chat about our financial future. Because I was thinking of that and I was sort of mapping out what I wanted to talk about with you today. And I was thinking about how we live in that overall feeling of super positivity about the future. When we get older, when we retire, when we, in 10 years' time, we all look at that as if that's some sort of rosy, amazing thing. So that's when we're going to get our financial shit together. That's when we're going to get our health together. That's when we're going to start living our best life. At the moment, we're just a little bit too busy, right? We're a little bit too in the actual living that we're not actually planning for the future because the future is just going to happen and it's going to be fine. And then as we get older, we start looking at things like our super account and our house and all that sort of stuff and start thinking about how we actually going to lock that in. So if you're still in the rose-colored glasses phase or if you've just hit the phase where you're starting to really look at what you've got now and where you're going, how are we going to make sure that you've got the most secure financial future and that ideal, bright, happy, amazing life actually becomes yours? And it's got to do with what we do now. So now I'm thinking about how to live my best life in my 80s as well. James Clear says something along the lines of every action we take now is a vote for our future. And we know in our heads, if we don't do certain things today, that bright future is not going to exist. But we kind of don't know it in our hearts. And I guess putting our real thinking caps on, we need to make sure that the things that we're doing today really set us up for that amazing financial future that could be ours. And we also need to get out of our own way. And we know that, right? We know that what's happening when we spend money today. We know that it's sometimes about the way that we think, and it's very much about the way that we have been programmed to do things. And I love this word, but it's the patriarchy, it's our parents, it's our spouse, it's our society. It could even be our religion. It could be our children. It is the story we tell ourselves about what we can and can't do. And there are so many stereotypes supporting this shit, right? Up here in advertising targeting 85% men, 15% of women. In those ads, say half of them are scantily clad women. Now, just bizarre, really, if you think about it, because women control 75% of discretionary spending in most households. So the advertisers aren't targeting us. I've got this real vision of like Don Draper and Mad Men still sitting up in their ivory towers, kind of being rude to the women in the office and having the secretaries in the office. And you sort of think, surely not now. And you try and look for evidence of the contrary, but it's actually really quite hard to find. And even the ads that have men doing domestic duties, it's like they're doing it as a once off. It's very clear. So no wonder as women over 45, we get to start feeling a little bit invisible. And if we're in our own way and it's being supported by what we see, it's hard to be what we can't see. And I know that so well because I've spent most of my life doing that, being what I can't see. And I know that there's a lot of young women out there and they're doing amazing things around money, amazing things around making these huge efforts to own our own lives. And when I see younger clients in the mortgage broking business, I can really feel and see the difference in their generation to my generation. Because if you're a woman in Australia and you've probably heard this at least once, we've got our own unique challenges, but you've probably heard this at least once. Women in Australia are the highest growing number of homelessness. And that stat's a meaningful stat for us because it puts us in positions, or we put ourselves in positions where we're not financially empowered. So we need to become visible, and we need to become visible to ourselves for a start. And by visible, I'm talking about knowing what we want and what we need and what's going to take us on our own happy money journey. We need to talk about the things that are impacting us. We need to talk about divorce. We need to talk about big career changes. We need to talk about starting our own business. We need to talk about our money. And listen to some of the younger women on their podcasts, and there's groups of them talking all about their money and their investments and where they've failed and where they've succeeded. And they're brave and they're strong and they're beautiful and they're inspiring. But we've got to grab some of that for ourselves, right? Because we can start our own businesses. We can be massively successful in the corporate world. We are often at the same time grappling with a huge mental load of older children, older parents, and a really daunting financial future. We might be a little bit afraid. So I don't know about you. I'm 54 now, and I'm getting to that part of my life where I don't want to be tracking my spending. I just want to be having fun. I want to be relaxed. I want to be going out and doing stuff. But my biggest responsibility at the moment is to Phoebe when she's 80. So I'm going to just take a moment with you now. What does our next 30 years look like? Because homelessness doesn't necessarily mean living on the street. Homelessness could mean living in shared accommodation. It could be living in temporary or short-term accommodation. It could be living in rental properties. It could mean living with our children or living with our elderly relatives as a carer. It's not having our own property. It's not having our own money and not having our own superannuation that can put us in a position where we are actually financially healthy in the future. So if we're not financially healthy, and I've spent many years in financial services, helping people into their homes as a mortgage broker and spending time as a financial planner. And I know one thing, the social security system in Australia is very geared towards people that own a home. And it's very different in the UK and it's very different in America. So where we get our financial advice from, where we get our lessons and our learning and all of that sort of stuff has to be Australian. I've got a home, I've still got a mortgage on it, but I've got a plan. And my plan is that I'll get to a certain age and I'll sell and I'll downsize and there'll be enough equity in my property to be able to support me in the future. But where will you live when you're 80 if you don't have a home now? Even if it's a little 1-bedroom bolt hole and you don't live in it now and it's got barely enough room in the living room for you, and to have 3 people standing in there is like crowded, but it's something that's yours. And it prevents you from ever being in the situation where you've got no control over your home as you get older. And if you do have a home, what's your situation with that home? What is your plan with that home? Because I just want to scare you enough so that you know you have to look at where you are physically today. And it could be a really hard road, right? But you might have a whole lot of options that you haven't thought of. So I've seen children buy their parents a home. I've seen inheritance or divorce lead to downsizing and buying a future home, but then living in a rental property in the time being when you've got children and people that need to be living with you. So rent vesting. Could be anything leading to that very important future space. So have a plan. Involve your family. Speak to them. Because, you know, really seriously, one of the big stats on homelessness is parents living with their children. So you might want to scare them into it a little bit too. And make sure that you're doing the things now so that you won't be in that homelessness situation then. Talk to people, because talking about it uncovers it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. We are in the situations that we're in because we've done the best that we can with the resources that we had available to us at the time. And that's what we do. So next thing is the way we spend. Now, there's 2 things that we do when we feel out of control with our money. One is we spend like we're dying tomorrow. And the other is that we hold so tightly onto our money that it's not bringing us any joy. So we try and get out of this situation. We try and follow a guru. We try and follow a guide. We try and follow a way. And when I started my own happy money journey, there were a heap of gurus out there. And I jumped into all sorts of theories on how I should set myself up and how I should get my money together and how I should be saving. And as a mortgage broker, I've spent a whole lot of time looking at people's bank accounts. So it's really evident to me when they've read one of 2 books. Either they've read The Barefoot Investor, fantastic ideas, really good stuff, really great advice, or they've read Profit First. Now, both of these, aside from being written by blokes, both of these are complex systems of finances. There's 4, 5, 6 accounts in them. They're all over the place. You've got to transfer money in, out, do all this sort of stuff. I don't know about you, but my mental load is too high to be bothering looking at my accounts every day and making sure that all the money's where it should be. I learned on these guys a lot when I first started because I didn't trust myself. I didn't acknowledge what I needed, and I didn't look at my own situation. I just followed their rules. And that's a really great place to start. And I'm not knocking it. I really like that they bring the conversation out and we start talking about money because of books like this. But then when I'm looking at people's accounts, 98% of those additional accounts have $0 in them, or they're in debit because the fees that have been charged on them have taken money out. The problem, if you can't follow those systems, isn't you. If I gave you an exact science on how I do it, that would probably fail too. I'm a 2-account woman, 2 accounts for business, 2 accounts for personal, and I certainly don't, as I said, have the mental load for 6 accounts. Then you feel like you haven't been able to make it work where everyone else seems to be doing it, and you feel like a failure. You feel like you failed and you're never going to get it right, and that it's just never going to work for you. And all these accounts named after fire engines and fire hoses and all sorts of blah-de-blah just aren't working for you. But they're not working for you because that shit's not necessarily going to work for you. It's a great place to start, as I said, but knowing where you want to be in the future and how you're going to get there and making a simple plan. Because getting in control of your day-to-day spending is simple. You keep one account. I keep one account for bills, and I keep one account for all my discretionary spending, which could be food, clothes, all of that sort of stuff. It's easy for me. I'm on my own. You might need something a little bit more complicated, but you need what is going to serve you best. So you need somewhere where you just got money that you can just blow on whatever you want. You need somewhere you've got money that looks after your bills and your household and all that sort of stuff. Knowing where you want to be in the future means that it's actually quite easy to start spending your time and your energy around working out a plan for it now. So take that good, long, hard look at yourself. Know where your money goes. Know what you're spending it on, and then look at your values. How does what you're spending align with your values? And then rejig yourself, really, really get there and know what brings you joy. Is it frivolously buying clothes? You're past making bad decisions in all sorts of other areas of your life. At 45 plus, let's stop being silly with our money and telling ourselves the stories that are supported by patriarchal concepts like we're not good with money and we need to be passive. If we're scared of looking after our own money, then we're going to have no control over our future. So stop behaving like the martyred, invisible woman and that we're told to be, and start standing in your truth about what you want and what you need. Even if it's only the tiniest sliver of sunshine, of truth, then you get to live your next 40 or 30 or 40 or 50 years the way you want to. And I'll give you another tip. My emergency fund is an investment account. It's not a savings account, because and this isn't the next thing I wanted to talk about. There is a big gap here. The gender investment gap is far bigger than the gender pay gap. For a start, we all want to feel safe and secure with our finances. But those same advertisers that are showing us the semi-naked women and making 85% of the ads about men also write the books and do the talking to about our investments. And men are canny and wise and able to, make the hard decisions. And if you're not a man that feels like that, it's the same as us, right? We get a little bit scared and we start searching for solutions and we start looking at all the options, and then we decide that we're not very good at that, so we'll just stay safe. And that's a big risk. And it's a big risk as well because the generation above us, quite a wealthy generation, potentially. So could be the first time generational wealth's even filtered through in your family, but there could be the prospect of inheriting a home or inheriting money from your parents that's going to happen at some point in the future. Divorce, death, lump sum superannuation when you retire because you've been working all your life. You are at some point going to have a whole lot of money that you need to be in control of. In fact, Deloitte wrote a survey really about middle-class women being the fastest growing wealthy because of the fact that we live longer. So inheritance, super payouts, all of those sort of things, big amount of wealth coming to you. And you need to understand investments because investments make money. Saving or putting your money in a bank account is going to keep you earning money just below the level of inflation. And I've gone through this in other podcasts in the past, but the way we're spoken to as women, we need to be saving our money. And we don't. We need to be investing our money. We don't need to be putting things in an old-fashioned envelope system where, we know exactly where our holiday money is coming from and our, extra payments and our retirement, and make everything so scary and investment being so high risk, and if we get it wrong, it could mean financial disaster. It could if you're investing in really high risk things. But if you learn about it and understand it, our tiny brains are not too precious to be concentrating on things like investments. We've got the mental capacity for it. It's not man's work. Investments are about building your future. It's about all that sort of stuff. It's not... We really, really do have to bust that whole myth about being passive and being looked after and handsome princes riding in on their horses to save us at the last minute. And I get it's just as hard for men. I get that men need to be heroes and knowledgeable and all that sort of stuff, and then if men fail at investing, then that failure is an horrendous failure. It's an awful failure to have. We've got to give ourselves the power to get it wrong. We've got to understand about diversification. We've got to understand about hedging our bets. We've got to be able to see a scam when a scam's in front of us. And we've got to be able to know that you don't get anything for nothing. Like, if you're risk averse, don't invest in crypto. It could be $1,000 one day and $1 the next. Like, really high differential in your outcomes with something that's high risk. And most people would understand that. Understand also that there's all sorts of other investments that are longer term, that are safer, but that are paying better than cash. So start investigating. We're not going to do something because we're impulse driven and we're frivolous. It doesn't, and those impressions of women as being like super shoppers and not smart with our money and all those sort of things do not stand up to scrutiny. If any of us has ever been in a situation where we're a single mother, or we've been responsible for a household budget, or we've been responsible for a work budget, or we're trying to achieve something for our family or in our workplace, we are very human about the way that we spend money. It might be far more risk averse on average than men. And I think it was Deloitte's that did the study that female fund managers make so much more than men because of that patriarchal gift, because of that gift of being a little bit risk averse and being able to see things from multiple dimensions. So being a trained people pleaser could work out for us. We can use that stuff to our advantage. I'm not saying that men can't do it or men shouldn't do it or anything like that. What I'm saying is that there is a real gap in the way that women are spoken to and the way that men are spoken to around investing. And it means that we invest our money differently or we save our money differently, and that creates a huge investment gap. So, do I want to be a victim of financial patriarchy? No more. Do I want to cross my fingers and hope for a bright future? I do not. So I want to listen to this money stuff. I want to learn this money stuff, and I want to get good at this money stuff, because that means that I'm not going to be in a situation in the future where I'm homeless or potentially homeless, or I'm in a house that I can't afford, or any of those things, because I've got a plan. So when was the last time you looked at your super? When was the last time you actually had a moment and dug a little bit into your investments? Because there's a gap between when you retire and when you have to be, in aged care. And in that gap, we want to be able to travel. We want to be able to spend time with our children, our grandchildren. We want to live by the sea. We want to paint pictures. We want to live that life where we're so financially secure that you can just choose to do whatever the fuck you want to do. And I want you to have that. I want that to be simple for you. And I want you to recognize that this stuff is important right now. That you can be financially successful because it's a learned skill. And that it's time to see some of these myths for what they really are. You need to scrutinize them. You need to pull them apart and say no more. So take a moment over the next few days and have a look at your bank accounts. Have a look at how you're set up. Go back over a couple of months and see how you're spending. Review your investments. Review your super. See if it's geared towards your goals. Like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and they've put all their supers in cash, and they're in their 50s, and I'm thinking, if you leave all your super in cash, you're going to retire with less than you've got in the bank now. It's not that easy. Look, it's not that easy, and it's not that exciting sitting there and spending half an hour a week making a financial date with ourselves and making sure that we're on track and all that sort of stuff. But it's a lot easier than getting to 30 years' time and not having a cracker and having to live in our children's basement. So what some of the things that we can do in our 50s that we're not doing right now is, 1, have a plan. Know where you're going to be living when you're 80. Decide now, and then work out how you're going to make it happen. look at your spending. Know exactly where your money goes now and what amount you've got left over to invest. And invest. Don't stuff around with these envelopes and keeping small amounts of savings that are earning you no money. Have a look at investments. Even if you decide not to invest outside of super, make your superannuation a good investment vehicle for you. To do that, you need advice, but before you get advice, you need to understand what you're doing. So read books, listen to podcasts, get information, gather information, know what your risk profile is, and start looking at the areas of your life where you can improve, where you can start getting better at things, where you can start stopping things that are impacting your health and well-being now. So, where can you save a bit of money? Is it alcohol consumption? Is it smoking? Is it eating takeaway? Is it eating out all the time? What are some of the things that you can change now to actually make sure that you're living your best life for the next 30 years? Is it getting out and walking in nature? Is it starting to do a little bit more yoga? Spending a bit more time with friends, families, all of those sort of things. Having adventures now. Start looking at how you could be living different. Inspire yourself. Make you the focus of where you want to get to. Get your finances sorted out and make it a set and forget thing. You don't need to be trading in the share market. You don't need to be looking at futures and crypto and all of these sort of things and spending all your time doing it. You just need to set yourself up something that's solid enough that can allow you to live the life that you want to live when you're 80 or 90 or 100, because you want that quality of life then. And in the meantime, we want amazing things to happen to us. We want to be able to live well. And that's the truth. That's the thing that's really going to change your life. It's going to take you on your happy money journey. It's going to help you let go of some of those constructs that we have been listening to from the patriarchy from when we were young girls, and actually get you living in your best life. Because I've done it. I know what it's like to do it. I was renting. I was broke. I was broken up from a business partnership. I didn't even know what I was going to do. And I didn't get to where I got today by sitting there and hoping that it would all sort itself out. I got there because I let go of some of the guilt about my spending, certainly let go about the guilt about my past. And I really started researching what I was doing with my money and how I could do different things and what was going to be important. So, as a person in your 40s, 50s, 60s, it is time to take control. And I am here. I'm here to guide you on your own happy money journey. That's why I'm really looking forward to this season, because I really think that I'm going to be able to bring back so much more to you, and it's going to be so fantastic. So take stock, think about where your 80-year-old self wants to be, and start listening. I cannot wait for the rest of this season. And meanwhile, have a wonderful day and enjoy your journey. I'll see you next week. We pay our respects to the ancestors and elders past, present and emerging. We're grateful and honoured to live on this land and pay homage to the traditions of storytelling communities and connection to the land. Today we're recording from the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Just a reminder to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you'd like to see more of us, you can find us at phoebeblamey.com.au, or you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram as The Happy Money Journey. We'd love you to get in touch with us and hear your thoughts around money and all things to do with your happy money journey. Have a great week and we'll catch you again next time. Just a reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's general in nature, it doesn't take into account your individual needs and circumstances, and we always recommend seeking the advice of a professional before making any financial decisions.